Why do Filipinos look so different? The roots of our diverse heritage. Walk into any room in Manila, or attend a Filipino gathering in a city abroad, and you will notice something striking. The crowd is not a monolith. You might see a tall person with light skin and deep-set eyes standing next to someone with a tan complexion and dark, almond-shaped eyes. Some have wavy, thick hair, while others have straight, fine locks. Why do Filipinos look so different? This variety is not a mistake. It is the result of thousands of years of migration, trade, and colonial history that created a unique genetic blend. Understanding this appearance requires looking past the surface. Every physical trait tells a part of a long story. From the indigenous groups who first settled the islands to the traders and colonizers who arrived later, each group left a mark on the Filipino population. By looking at these influences, we can better understand the complex mosaic that makes up the modern Filipino identity. The Austronesian foundation and indigenous roots. The foundation of Filipino physical traits lies in the Austronesian expansion. Around 4,000 years ago, people migrated from Taiwan into the Philippine archipelago. These settlers were skilled navigators and farmers. They brought the core genetic markers that you still see in most Filipinos today, such as dark hair, brown skin, and dark eyes. Before these settlers arrived, the islands were already inhabited. These groups, often referred to as negritos or indigenous peoples, had their own distinct physical characteristics. They often had tightly coiled hair and darker skin tones. Over thousands of years, these groups lived alongside the incoming Austronesians. Igorot, located in the mountains of Luzon, many Igorot groups maintained their unique traditions and physical traits due to the rugged terrain which kept outside influence at bay for centuries. Lumad, these groups in Mindanao hold onto ancient Austronesian and indigenous customs. Their features reflect the original inhabitants of the archipelago before foreign waves began. Ita. Among the earliest inhabitants, the Ita people have distinct features that provide a look at the original genetic makeup of the region. These indigenous groups represent the bedrock of the population. They provide the primary baseline for the typical Filipino appearance. Spanish colonization and the rise of the mestizo. For over 300 years, Spain ruled the Philippines. This era brought a massive shift in the gene pool. The Spanish introduced European genetic traits to the local population, primarily through intermarriage between Spanish men and indigenous or Chinese women. This period gave birth to the term mestizo, which historically referred to someone of mixed Spanish and native ancestry. These families often occupied higher social classes, which encouraged more mixing over the generations. The physical traits associated with this heritage, such as lighter skin, higher nose bridges, and lighter eye colors, became more common in urban centers like Manila and Iloilo. The Spanish influence went beyond just genetics. It changed social patterns. Wealthy landowners and local leaders often sought to marry into Spanish families to secure status. This kept the European traits present in the population for generations. While many Filipinos do not have recent Spanish ancestors, the distant genetic ripple effects remain visible in many families today. American influence and modern admixture. The American period lasted only about 50 years, starting in 1898. While this is a short time compared to Spanish rule, it had a notable impact. American soldiers, teachers, and business people settled in the country. Many married locals, creating a new layer of genetic diversity. The American legacy is also cultural. It helped shift the Filipino definition of beauty. Through movies, media, and social ideals, the American look became a standard for many. This led to more desire for mixed heritage individuals. Today, you see many Filipinos with mixed American-Filipino ancestry in media and sports, which highlights how recent this influence is in the broader timeline of the islands.
Chinese immigration and the Sanglay influence. Long before the Spanish arrived, the Philippines had strong trade links with China. Chinese merchants traveled to the islands for silk, porcelain, and spices. Many settled down, married local women, and became part of the community. These immigrants were often called Sanglay. The Chinese influence is one of the most widespread in the country. You can see this in many common surnames, food preferences, and physical features. It is very common for a Filipino to have a Chinese ancestor from just a few generations back. Because Chinese migration was constant and spanned centuries, this influence is deeply woven into the population. It is likely the most common non-indigenous ancestry found across the country. Arab traders and the Sulu Sultanate in the southern part of the Philippines, specifically in Mindanao and the Sulu archipelago, trade routes connected the region to the Arab world. These merchants arrived well before the Europeans. They brought goods, spices, and the Islamic faith, which took root in the south. These traders established strong ties with local leaders. The Sulu Sultanate, for example, became a center of power and trade. Intermarriage between Arab merchants and local royalty or community members introduced Middle Eastern genetic traits. These can include sharper facial features and deep, dark eyes. This influence remains a distinct part of the southern Filipino heritage, separate from the northern colonial influences. Japanese and Indian contributions. While less dominant than the Chinese or Spanish influences, the Japanese and Indian presence left its own mark. Japanese traders lived in enclaves, particularly in Manila and Davao, long before World War II. They were known for their craftsmanship and trade skills. Their presence introduced subtle genetic traits that persist in some families. Indian merchants also played a role in the trade networks across Southeast Asia. They influenced everything from language and religion to agriculture. While the genetic contribution of Indian traders is more subtle, their presence added to the rich variety of physical features found in the region. These connections are part of the vast network of Asian interactions that shaped the Filipino people. The modern Filipino identity. Why do Filipinos look so different? Because they are a product of a global crossroads. The modern Filipino is a synthesis of all these groups. There is no single, Filipino look. Instead, there is a vast range of features that reflect a history of openness and connection to the world. The genetics of diversity. Studies of Filipino genetics show that most people have a high degree of Austronesian ancestry. However, almost everyone has at least a small amount of admixture from elsewhere. This mix is what creates the unique diversity. A person's appearance is simply the outcome of these ancient migrations and interactions meeting and mingling over time. Celebrating the mosaic, the physical diversity of the Filipino people is a source of strength. It shows a history of survival and adaptation. Rather than trying to define a single standard of beauty, it is more accurate to view the Filipino identity as a collection of many threads. Whether someone has deep indigenous roots, Chinese ancestry, or Spanish features, they are all part of the same story. This mix makes the Filipino identity vibrant, complex, and beautiful. Embracing these differences is key to understanding what it means to be Filipino in a changing world.